Hello everyone, my name is John Bussart. I'm an HPE Solution Center engineer for Ingram Micro out of our Business Transformation Centers. I support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HPE. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management interface. Today, we're going to continue on our conversation with HPE's SimpliVity Hyper-Converged platform. And we're going to look at the VM-centric management through the plugin that's installed within the vCenter web interface. So virtualization administrators are going to find this management of this environment to be a simple and easy learning curve as far as their day-to-day activities. So what I plan to do in this video is actually show you around the plugin in different places that you can see this interface in this environment. I'll also talk a little bit about the software-defined storage within this environment, and maybe we'll do some things within the infrastructure like create a data store and as well as expand it and delete it. So with all that being said, let's explore this interface. All right, here is my vCenter environment. I could tell the plugin is installed over here. Now before I dig into this plugin, I actually want to give you a lay of the land of the infrastructure. So first we're going to look under hosts and clusters. And you'll see I have two vCenter incidences here, and they're connected in linked mode. And I do that so I can federate my two SimpliVity clusters that I have. I have two of them. I have one cluster up here, which has two ESX nodes, and I have another cluster down here which has one ESX node in it. So what I plan to do in a later video is to expand this cluster for you guys. But you can certainly have a SimpliVity cluster of one. It's not necessarily very highly available, but it is something you can do. Now all these virtual machines I have created except for a few of them, and those would be the OmniStack virtual controllers here. So the OmniStack virtual controllers, and you'll have one per ESX host, this one here, and that would be the IP address of that node, and this would be the secondary one. Right. And this ESX host has one here, so that's why you only see one down below. Right. But this OmniStack virtual controller, it actually speaks to the local storage as well as the OmniStack accelerator card if it's installed in your system. And certainly these systems are SimpliVity 380 Gen 10 systems, so they have that accelerator card. So let's take a quick look at that. So I'm going to right click, and then we're going to go down to edit, and a little pop-up is going to tell us, we really don't want to manage that. We just want to take a peek into it real quick so we can look at it. So I'm going to click yes, and down here we see these PCI devices, and if I highlight here, we can see this is the SimpliVity OmniQ accelerator card. It's installed, and then a little bit beneath that is actually the HPE Smart Array controller, which talks to the storage. All right, so this VM, this virtual controller, has access to these devices. And the OmniStack accelerator card is a big value add. It allows us to do hardware accelerated software-defined storage, deduplication, compression. It's one of our backup mechanisms inside this environment. So it's a big value add as far as the SimpliVity environment is concerned. Right, but beyond these three VMs, I've created all these other VMs within this environment. All right, so let's go back to the home page. And like I had mentioned, you can see that the plugin's installed, so let me select that up here real quick. And we're at the home page, and we could certainly go over a tab and look at our clusters. You can see the SimpliVity 1 cluster as well as the SimpliVity 2 cluster. I could select these links, so a lot of these are hyperlinks to other sections or other places within the vCenter environment. So let's go back to the home view. Some other things within this context, we can see the backup policies. I'll create a video on backup policies as well. This is, again, a huge value add for a SimpliVity environment, something you'll certainly lean against as in your day-to-day activities with this technology solution. Right, but I've got 4 backup policies created here. We can also look at the 2 clusters that I've created. We can look at the data stores. You can see what cluster they're associated to. So you can see that I have 2 data stores associated to cluster 1, and then 1 data store associated to cluster 2. Look at the hosts. Again, we can see what cluster they're associated as well as we get a status for the virtual controller. We can look at virtual machines that are managed by this environment. You could also go under actions. We see some SimpliVity actions down here, but we'll dig into that a little bit in more detail in a little bit. And then finally, if you want to, VM templates. So let's go back to the home view. So let's dig back into host and clusters and look at some places where I see this plugin installed. So right now we've got the cluster highlighted. We're under summary. Generally, I look at the monitor and configuration tabs to see these places where the plugin is installed. So let's first start off with the monitor. We can see over here we have a couple of SimpliVity tabs listed. So first we'll take the SimpliVity capacity. And this would be the iconic view. I'm sure if you've seen any HPE PowerPoints out there around SimpliVity, they'll have this iconic view. And this really shows us the utilization within our software-defined storage. And I'm getting close to the advertised efficiency, so almost to 40 to 1. So I'm actually getting 38.8 to 1 efficiency. We can see that about 1.2 to 1 is based on compression, but I'm getting a lot out of deduplication. And that's based on the backup policies or the local backups that I have within my environment. So my actual utilization is 1.1 terabytes out of 5.2 terabytes. So I still have 1.4 terabytes free within this environment. Next, we'll look at the SimpliVity Performance tab, where we can get a view into the software-defined storage performance in the environment. So we can see throughput, IOPS, latency. Right now we're looking at a day, but I could look at a week, month, and go backwards maybe to the last hour. Maybe I'm concerned right here with what the spike was doing within the environment, what's kind of causing that spike. So I could certainly open up top contributors, right, and select this data point. And we can see the virtual machines that were causing the most noise on the software-defined storage. All right, so that's under monitor. Next, we can look under configure. And what's selected here, scroll all the way down, is SimpliVity Search Backups. So these are all the backups that can be found within the cluster. You see, I've got a great policy set up. I'm backing up every hour, and then I'm hanging on to one backup a day, and then one backup for the week, and then one backup for a month. Right, so I've got a lot of nice backups that I could work from. Obviously, we can limit it down the types of things we can see as far as our backups concerned. We can also add entities if we felt like, and we've got a variety of things that we can add in to kind of limit down what we're looking at. Right. Next, we could look at more objects. And this would be the objects within this SimpliVity cluster. So these are all the virtual machines that are running on the two ESX hosts in this cluster. We could also look at the 2 data centers that are associated with this cluster, as well as these 2 SimpliVity hosts that are associated with this cluster. Now we'll move down. Next, we'll take one of the ESX systems. All right, and we'll select the monitor. And we can see SimpliVity hardware over here. So we'll select that. You can see all the hardware that's associated with the system. Namely, we can see the OmniStack accelerator card here, as well as the Smart Array adapter. Over here, we could select this entity or this tab. You can see all the machines that are running on this ESX host. Again, we have actions over here. We got SimpliVity actions down here, but we'll look at that in a little bit more detail in a bit. All right, next, why don't we take one of the virtual machines and look at it under monitor. You see we have SimpliVity Performance. where we could see this virtual machine's performance against the software-defined storage. Again, we got throughput, IOPS, as well as latency. We can change what we're looking at from a day to a week, month, whatever you want. We could also use this slider and change exactly what we're looking with as well. So let's take a look under Configure. And then we got SimpliVity Search Backups right here. Now these would be all the backups of this virtual machine within the software-defined infrastructure. Again, we could limit those down or put extra search criteria in there if we wanted to. The only other place where I see some of this plugin from this tab context would be under the storage or the data center view. These are the two local data stores, and these are the two data stores that I created within this environment. Select one of these data stores. Over here we can see SimpliVity virtual machine objects. So now we get a view at the virtual machines that are running on this data store here. I can also right click on this data store, where again we'll see SimpliVity actions down here. I can do an online resize, set default backup policy, manage standard ESX hosts, as well as delete data store. So the tabs are one way to kind of look at the SimpliVity management context, but I'd say what would be a more popular way to be able to manage this environment is actually to right click on the entity first. So for example, I could go up to SimpliVity actions here. We could right click and we'll see SimpliVity actions here. We could do a variety of things. Some of these are links to things we've already seen already, such as search backup. View performance. And view capacity. And that's at the cluster level. Now I know there was create data store. We'll come back to that setting in a little bit. Next we can look at the ESX node itself. Same thing, we can right click. Go down to SimpliVity actions. We'll see a few interesting things. We can view the hardware. Right. We can also remove this node from the federation. Right. So if we want to eject this from the SimpliVity cluster, create a support case if you got a case open with HPE, or shut down the virtual controller, which would do an automated shutdown of the Omni Stack virtual controller. Okay. So next, let's look at a virtual machine. So if I right click on that, go down to SimpliVity actions, we've got a variety of things that we can do. We can do an ad hoc backup of the virtual machine, clone the virtual machine, move the virtual machine between hosts, set up backup policies, and then some of the things that we've seen, such as view performance. Search backups. Okay. And some other things like save your credentials for VSS. So why don't we do something within this menu? Why don't we clone a virtual machine? Let's select this guy here. So cloning a virtual machine in this fashion will be a lot faster than cloning it through the normal VMware environment, because we'll be reaching into the software-defined storage. Obviously, we've got a variety of ways you can clone this machine. It can be crash consistent, or we can do applications consistent, and maybe we'll do this with a VMware snapshot this time. So we'll click Finish. We'll validate. And down here we can see the SimpliVity rapid clone happen. First, it'll take a snapshot of the virtual machine. Snapshot is completed. Now we'll move on with the rapid clone. I'll remove the snapshot. And register the virtual machine. So here's that VM that we just created. We look under Summary. You can see that this machine's about 100 gig virtual machine that we just replicated. This SimpliVity storage HA lost sync, so it's got to create its redundant bits within the environment. That'll settle itself out in a little bit. I'm just going to reset this to green. But that's how you quickly create a VM. We can also delete this guy if we wanted to, so delete from disk. Those will be some common actions. Let's go through and create a data store with this plugin. So we'll go up and select the cluster. And I'll right click, move it on to SimpliVity Actions, and then we'll select Create Data Store. And select what cluster I want to create the data store on. Let's give it a nice name. Set the backup policy. It's something you certainly want to do. We'll just use our standard backup policy, and we'll create this at about 1 terabyte. And then I'll click OK. Now, creating storage within a VM environment can be pretty laborious. You have to create the storage on your shared storage platform, and then you have to go to each one of the hosts and actually discover that storage. If you are working with block-based storage, you have to actually discover the storage and format it out with VMFS. You see this was pretty quick. Here's that new Ingram Micro data store that I created here. No virtual machines running now on it. We could select Summary. You can see it's 1 terabyte in size. You can see it's also presented through NFS. And if I want to resize that, right click, go back down to SimpliVity Actions, and now we'll do the online read size. We'll do about 1.5 terabytes. We'll click OK. See the resize has completed successfully. And then we'll go back over to this data store. This time we'll delete it. Quick and easy. And obviously that object is gone at this point. So that is our SimpliVity management interface. Again, it's a plugin within the vSphere web client. Allows us to simply and easily manage our SimpliVity environment. I hope you found this video informative, and please stay tuned for more videos.